Hey there, YouTube world. Sunday morning, we are going to head up to one of our members' houses and play with model Hubley cars. Maybe you want to follow along. Looks like we got plenty of oil today. Looks like we got plenty of water. Let's fire this thing up. In case I get stuck.
In case it gets stuck, just take this thing out, huh?
Yeah, I take it camping.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, I take it up in the hills. Okay, we made it. Let's go inside and see what's going on.
How are you?
Doing good. Donuts.
Yes, donuts.
Everybody likes
cake.
donuts.
The trip reset is stuck.
Oh, that should be simple.
Wow.
Eine geht. Wheels are actually really nice and they roll really well.
Nice, thank you.
See it in a second.
Yeah.
Well, always put your finger over the hood.
Amazing.
Yeah, they roll real good.
Yeah. They roll real well. Don't screw them up.
Don't touch it.
I found out there are 3 different types of wheels too. In the Hubley kit, there are 3 different styles of wheels.
And I worked at Bernie and
Okay, John had asked if I kind of go over some basic stuff on Hubleys. I said, sure, I can do that. So I'm going to go over some of the basic prep, some of the concepts. To get a really competitive car takes a lot of trial and error, practice, and in some cases, dumb luck. I've got 2 cars that I've done the exact same thing to, and one is a fairly quick car, and the other one just can't quite get there. So, basic rules. They have to be one of the authorized Hubley models, and Hubleys were built by Hubley, Scale Models, and Gabriel. All made the kits over the years. This is stock condition. Generally, no modifications are allowed to the. It says to use the original tires, wheels, and axle screws. No substitutions or major modifications to those. And the body styles are the 7 standard body styles. Weight. The maximum weight is 1 pound 5 ounces, which I haven't done, but is supposedly the weight of this particular Hubley kit. It's the heaviest one, so you can bring all the rest of them up to what they standardize as 21 ounces for weight. That's important. We're going to a little physics. That's important because you start out at about 42 inches off the ground, and you go down and you get to some max speed, and then you coast and use that momentum to get to the end of the track. All right, I'm not going to start over just for you. I mean, we've been at this for all of 45 seconds, so or thereabouts. But then once you get that speed going, then you transition to something called momentum. The force that's accelerating it is gravity pushing it, and once it's coasting, the force that's trying to slow it down is friction. So it all has to do with how do you reduce the friction. So some of the basic preparation, I've got a couple of pieces out of the kit that I'll pass around. The rear axle, one side is as it comes off the sprues, off the parts. The other side, I've taken and polished up the surfaces that the wheel rotates around. And I've done the same on the front axle. So you can see the difference between casted and it's been polished pretty good. So you want to, like I say, it's all about friction. Grade 400, I mean just equivalence. So you've got less roughness, less friction. So that's probably the first thing to do to get the cars going. I'll pass these around. Chucked them up in a lathe, turned them, and then I actually have some polishing compound and polishing equipment that I use. Because one way for testing these things, if you don't have a track, of course, the only one that has a track is Tim, and only comes out a couple times a year, is I do. So a lot of mine to see if I've got like one wheel off from the other, is I'll just spin them. And you notice like this one spins about like that. If you just put it together stock, slower than one if you clean it up a bit. And none of these have been lubricated. So lubrication is going to make a difference. Try to get the screws in as straight as possible. Because if you're over having an angle, you've got an edge of a screw rubbing on it, which may tend to dig into it. So get the screws in as straight as possible. Lubrication, the requirements are dry lubricants only. No oils, no greases, no liquid lubrications of any kind, dry. The number one lubricant of choice is graphite. There are some others out there, but graphite is the one that most people are going with. One thing I've found is that graphite you can get graphite in several different grades. There's regular graphite like you can get for door locks and and there are also, you can get graphite, Pinewood Derby outfits. They have a very, very, very fine graphite. Steering. There's a debate about whether, because the track is set up with some sidewalls that are, I don't know, about that high. And so, the car's coming down, and you want to keep it straight. You don't want to really rub up against the sidewalls, because rubbing up against sidewalls is friction, and number one enemy is friction on this whole thing. So there's been conversations about, some people say, well, you make them so they're nice and loose, so if they do go, they'll kind of self-center and come back again. And there's others that say, no, you get it to run straight. If it does go over a bit, it will still come out, but most of it will go down straight. It's like Model A's. What kind of oil you run, detergent or non-detergent? That debate can go on for hours. So, it's a choice you can make. When you assemble the cars, I think in some cases they have like the front axle, they have the screws coming in from the top. Wherever possible, turn the parts over so you can put the screws in from the bottoms. That way you can make adjustments without having to tear the car apart. Oh, if you don't have a track, that's the way to test this kind of stuff. It's on the floor. And that one wants to go that way, which means it's going to want to hug the side of the track everywhere it goes. And I've got the screws on the bottom facing up so I can get to them. And with time, some of the wheels, they'll get wallowed out, and so there's a lot of slop. And don't be worried about that. I mean, it'd be nice to have everything set up like a fine, Ferrari with high tolerances, but when you have to play with what comes with it, you can't insert bearings in the wheels and get that. So after a while, they do tend to get a little wobbly, but cars that I've got that run fairly well, they're like that. They've got wobbly wheels. So if they ever figure out how to get those a little bit tighter, they might run faster. But yeah. This car hasn't had a lot of prep. It hasn't had a lot of polishing on the axles and that. And
Oh, I've got one of those.
still have. That happens. This one has been polished and has been lubricated well, and I think I've got it running straight. So the same amount of force on it. Oops. Weight placement. The higher the weight is, the more potential energy you're going to have. Some of these races get down to the hundreds between first, second, third, whatever.
Thousands of a second.
Thousandths of a second, yeah. Oh, you turn the car upside down. If you have to add weight, you add it to the inside of the roof, because it gets it up higher. What you're doing is, the weight is the center of gravity. And the center of gravity is where would be the center pivot point of the car. So you want it in the center of gravity. If you can move the center of gravity up ever so slightly, that is going to make a difference, because potential energy, velocity, it's a subtle difference, but if you're in the hundreds of thousands or thousandths of a second from winning, weight placement work. These cars sit like this going down the track. So high toward the back. And what's important is getting the weight as high as possible on the starting, when it's up there on the starting point. Because weight is what gives you your energy. And I'm thinking, if you have a half an ounce difference, might mean a difference of 100th of a second. Like Mike said, some of these races have come down to thousandths of a second. Kind of what I was planning on going over, just giving, the real basics of, if you come and doing some of these things means you won't have a car. How many years?
3 or 4.
3 or 4 was trying to get his car to even get to the finish line. And then he finally made it this last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't win, but he made it to the finish line.
My wife, why he got like a round of applause.
Yeah.
Yes.
He likes it.
If you have a Woody like that one there,
Yep.
you wouldn't add any weights to it.
Well,
That
I don't know, let's find out. It depends. They say that's, I've never run this one. I haven't done anything with it. That's probably why the wheel came off, because I did a few of those practice runs at home. And okay, so we have a scale. This one's 19 ounces. It doesn't have the hood on it. The Woody you would not have to add much, if anything, in the way of weight. Places in California, and they had it on theirs. They were saying that absolutely no modifications to the wheels, axles, and must use the Hubley. The screws comes with the Hubley. You'll notice that the newer ones are a finer pitch, smoother. The Hubleys are a little bit more like a wood screw with a sharper edge on them. So that sharper edge tends to dig into the plastic wheel and would be a little bit more friction. That's why they're saying to use the screws that come in it. I have yet to be at any race, and they keep threatening at the end of the race that they do a technical tear down of the winning car.
But if you go to the restorers, it says that there won't be a tear down unless something about if they crash or something.
Now, if it's oozing oil onto the track, then you probably have a problem. So that's the part that, it's this little tweaks and things are what make, I think, the difference between a fast car and a really fast car. And it's just, and a lot of it's trial and error. I hate to say how many hours I've spent experimenting with something and try it and go, this is it, and compare it with my other car and go, that's a waste of 6 hours. When you're looking at a couple degrees of towing and you get 10 degrees of slop in your wheels, that's kind of a mute point.
One of the things that I'll bring up is when you're losing your wheels, usually it's on the left side, and that's the reason is the right end screws.
Oh, they
And
unscrew.
they want to unscrew. So just make sure if your screw goes in too easy, you might want to put something in the hole to make that screw go in a little tighter.
Anyway, anything else?
It's all for fun. Isn't
It is. It is
I just
also
want
fun.
to hear for the beer award. I just want to.
I do want to be able to run my own car instead of borrowing one from whoever lent it to me. Thank you very much.
Well, now you got your own.
Now I've got two, one for him and one for me.
One of the real interesting things in the hobby, the interest in the history of the hobby is the Hubley races were set up to get kids involved. So you'd build, the Pinewood Derby thing, you build things with your kids and get kids involved so the kids have something to do. Well, it kind of involved where, competitive and it might people where now you go to an event and you may have 8 kids participate and 75 adult cars.
A lot of guys are looking for the hard tires because the newer kits have the soft rubber tires on them. They don't run real well. So the way to harden them up is take them and put them in the freezer. Let them sit in the freezer for a long time and they'll harden.
I have some tooling that we made years ago. We even made tooling and stuff, and we beat the tires. So the only thing that was touching the track was just like a razor sharp metal. That didn't work either.
Now, one of the things they talked about years ago was having an unlimited category. And I
Yes.
don't know of anyone that's...
Yeah, they did. There was
And they actually, there was two cars.
They weren't that much faster though.
No, that's Victoria.
This is plenty. This will do it. Thank you very much.
Anybody claim that pickup?
What's that there?
Scale model, front axle screws. Scale model made a change in front axle screws. The supply screws of the Model A kit is too small and should be replaced with a new screw supplied here. You will need to remount the front wheels with the new pins drilled. The rear wheels remain the same.
This one. So this one's unscrewed, but see, he turned his screws around so you can keep adjusting it. The plans say to put them in from this way so you can adjust them instead of from the other way, so you'd have to take the whole car apart.
Okay.
I said I don't fix it because I was trying to figure out if I had to do what was on
I've been in a charge position, so I need to
That's my public wrecking yard up there.
Yeah, I like it. All right, well, I hope you found that interesting. I found out some good pointers on making my car go a little faster. We'll see how it goes at the races. Until next time, let's keep this history in motion. Roll the credits.